What's going on, you guys? My name is Tatiana, and I want to welcome you to the Transformation Starter Kit, like your mini masterclass that is going to be diving into the ins and outs of achieving a fitness transformation. This is your no fluff, just facts glow up guide that will actually work. As you can see from this front cover, I have done this many times. Many times. And even though there's so much noise out there in terms of health, wellness, fitness, all of the things, especially if you are a woman, I am here to help you get some tangible, actionable steps that you can walk away with to apply and start your own fitness transformation. I do want to say that when it comes to nutrition and when it comes to fitness, it is absolutely not a one size fits all. You really want to be focused on finding the things that are sustainable for you and that work with you. But there are some things, if you want to look and feel your best, that you should be doing. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. When it comes to achieving a jaw dropping fitness transformation, one that changes your body, it boosts your energy, improves your health, and most importantly, actually lasts, there are a few non negotiables. That is what we're going to be chatting about today in the Transformation Starter Kit. Also, feel free to DM me any of your questions. My hypothesis is that a lot of you guys did find this through my social media. But if you don't know my Instagram, it is lots of tots with two S's. My TikTok is Tone with Toddy, and my website is tonewithtoddy.com. But I'm planning on sending a follow-up email after this because I know that there's going to be resources that I'll mention that you guys will probably want that would be so supportive in your journey. So, I can go ahead and link it there too. And if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to reach out. This is my greatest joy, my greatest passion. I love chatting about health and fitness and helping people get more healthy and more fit and more confident. Fitness is truly the gift that keeps on giving. So definitely feel free to reach out with your questions. Okay, let's get into it. So, it is me, your wellness bestie. And before we get into the nitty gritty of the things that you want to start applying on your fitness journey, I want to tell you guys a little bit about myself and my journey. So, I have a bachelor's in kinesiology pre-physical therapy. I went to SDSU and I learned so much in the classes about the physiology, anatomy, functionality of your body, and getting through injuries, functional exercise, science in general. I really learned a lot. However, when I was doing my internships, I did not feel a lot of passion from the physical therapist that I was observing. And I wanted to do something that still had to do with the human body, but was more energy. I am a double fire sign. Those of you who know fire signs are packed with passion, packed with energy. And that's really how I felt for myself in my life. And I just couldn't get away from the draw that I had towards movement and to connecting with other people and the way that movement can bring you into a better, more aligned version of yourself. I also am a NASM certified personal trainer. I am a yoga instructor, and I feel so grateful to have my yoga background to bring a little bit of a spin to the way that I go about training my clients and the way that I see a transformation in a human body in general. And I truly think that these things are all tied together. It's not one without the other. It is mind, body, and soul. And using fitness and using nutrition and your mindset is really the way that I feel like you elevate yourself from a mind, body, soul perspective. And I feel like my background in yoga has helped me dive a lot deeper into that as well. I do always want to promote working out and eating healthy as a form of self-care and as a form of self-love versus just because you want to see a physical change. I'm also a pro bodybuilder. So if you see the picture in the right-hand corner, that is at one of my competitions. This is something I never thought that I would be doing, and I definitely never thought that I would be winning, but it has been the greatest gift. It's been such a good way for me to push myself, to get completely out of my comfort zone, to meet so many inspiring people, and to just really see how you can feel when you do the things that you said you were going to do, even when you feel like you can't, and especially when nobody else is watching. So I'm a pro bodybuilder through FMG, which is a really cool federation. As you can see, you can definitely express yourself and express your personal style. Yeah. And for me, when it comes to fitness, we have had always a love relationship, but I've definitely went through extreme highs and lows in terms of my physique. And my health and my decisions and all of the things. I have a transformation photo here that is mine. And I had grown up as a competitive gymnast. So I was very fit, very strong. I was very small. I actually was very self conscious about how small I was. People would comment on it all the time. I looked probably like 5 years younger than I actually was until I was like 18, which is not the most exciting when you're in high school. So that being said, I never had to worry about my weight because I was always very tiny. When I went into college, I still never thought that I would ever have to worry about my weight because it's not anything that ever came into my mind. Like I said, the things that would come into my mind were unconfidence with how small I was. And in a very short period of time, I packed on 30 pounds. And that was a big deal for me because I felt like I went to college as a petite person and I really, really quickly gained 30 pounds. And I didn't really know what to do about it because I was already working out. I was working out every single day. Working out back then was even more like, it's definitely my thing now. It's clearly my thing. But back then I was working even harder and longer. And the reason was because I couldn't believe that the scale kept going up and I felt like I was living the same lifestyle as all the friends that I was making. But for some reason, I was gaining so much weight so easily and they weren't. And I truly didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I was putting in so much effort. I was at the gym every day. If you knew me when I went to SDSU, you would know that I was on the stair stepper. I was on the stair stepper, dripping sweat, doing intervals. And I really, really, really was trying to withhold calories, as I think most women do when you first start noticing that you're gaining weight. I was withholding calories, and this is a completely different time. This was 13 years ago. So I was withholding calories, but also trying to do different diet fads. The big one at the time was being vegetarian or being vegan. So not only was I limiting the calories, but I was also bringing down my protein, which I have learned so much about. And I will say I was trying to undereat because I wanted to lose weight. However, on the weekends and even like Thursdays and stuff like that, I was drinking so much and I was going out so much that I doubt that the calories were even low at the end of the week or at the end of the day because I was getting a lot of calories from alcohol. There's a lot of sugar in alcohol. Not only that, but it negatively impacts your digestion, it negatively impacts your sleep. You do stop the fat burning process when you're drinking because your body's whole goal is to go to moving the excess alcohol, which is a toxin, out of your system. So I really think that was a big contributor at the time to the negative transformation that I was experiencing in my body, the way that I looked and also felt. But that was just the lifestyle. Everyone was doing it. So it was basically like going hard on the weekend. And sometimes, honestly, too, which I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with, having alcohol be almost an excuse to eat poorly later in the night. It's like when you're sober and you're conscious, you're like, okay, like I need to eat a salad. I can only have a salad. Maybe I'll have a coffee. I need to skip I need to like withhold calories. And then nighttime comes around, you start drinking and you're like, okay, what am I going to get when I go home? And a lot of us in general would stop at like a burrito place or something like that, or have like drunchies when you get home. And it almost gave you an excuse to do this thing that you felt like you were guilty for. And there's so many layers to this. This needs to have another separate masterclass for girls who have experienced emotional eating and binge and restrict cycles. But that's another layer that I think when you notice your body changing in a way you don't want it to, you feel even more guilty for having unhealthy foods. And then that guilt puts such a negative energy on the actual like vibratory frequency of the food, where I feel like your body absorbs it even worse. Like if I were to have just been like, okay, this is not an all the time thing, this is a sometimes thing, it's fine, I think that it would have been better assimilated by my body. But I also think that I wouldn't have it needed to like overeat it. Like I wouldn't feel like I need to eat all this now because I don't have it regularly, and I'm not going to have it again because I'm going to start a diet tomorrow and I have the invitation right now because I've been drinking. It's just one of those things. And I feel like I was very caught in that cycle, and I've worked with so many people who have been in similar cycles to that. The last thing that I'll note is that I did start taking hormonal birth control. I am not here to tell you what type of birth control to take, but I am here to say that there's not a ton of information, or there's a lot of information on birth control. That's not what I'm saying. There's not a ton of information between individuality of birth control. I think when a lot of people go to a doctor and you get prescribed something, it's not done with much research in terms of what you personally want to get out of it, what the different hormone levels are, what your hormone levels are. And at the time, I didn't think much about it, but I definitely think that that was another thing that was impacting the weight gain, and especially like how big my boobs got. Gosh, you guys, thinking back to this time, it's just a tough time for a female in your late teens and early 20s trying to navigate the world. So if any of you guys are listening to this, I am so here for you and I am so thinking of you, and it gets better. So I have helped so many women transform. I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. It's just the facts. It's what I love to do. And I do think that with the approach that I have, it is a more sustainable and holistic wellness approach. And I'm really excited to share some more of it with you guys. So, number one, let's talk about one of the, if not the, I'll say this is the second most important thing when it comes to your transformation. This is strength training. First and foremost, you got to be doing it. Strength training is the thing, you guys. It is the thing that is going to support bone density. If you are a woman, one of the biggest issues that we run into in later life is osteoporosis, and that is fractures in the bone. This happens during perimenopause and menopause. And if you are a woman in perimenopause or menopause listening to this right now, make sure you're doing your strength training, because having more muscle improves bone density. Not only that, but having more muscle supports your hormone health. Having more muscle is like a protective shield to external factors, so it's like a protective mechanism. Having more muscle is going to help you burn more calories doing anything at all. This is so important, okay? I want to say that one more time. Having more muscle on your body is going to help you burn more calories doing anything at all. So for example, pretend that I am 135 pounds and you are 135 pounds. If I have more muscle on my frame, so say my body fat percentage at 135 pounds is 20% and yours is 30%, that would mean that you have more body fat, I have more muscle, but we weigh the same amount of weight. I am going to be burning more calories sitting here watching this masterclass than you are going to be sitting here watching this masterclass. And what that means is that you can eat more food at the end of the day without worrying about gaining weight, because muscle increases your basal metabolic rate. This is amazing. There's honestly so many other amazing things that it does. One more thing that I will say on muscle is that muscle changes your shape. So I think something that happens sometimes is people will start losing weight, but not necessarily building muscle, and they're not satisfied with how they look. So let's say you are 200 pounds and your body shape is a strawberry shape. You're a beautiful, gorgeous strawberry, and you start to lose weight, but you're not building muscle. So you're not shaping your shoulders, you're not shaping your quads, you're not shaping your glutes, but you are getting smaller. You are going to look like a smaller strawberry. So you're still yourself, but you're a smaller you. So if you want to really make that transformation that pops, you want to be building muscle, because instead, if you were that strawberry size, but now you have like, ooh, nice delts, ooh, sculpted back, ooh, round glutes, it would completely change the way that you look. One thing I'll say too, which I talk about all the time with the women that I train, is we don't want to be obsessed with the number that we see on the scale. There is a statistic that says something around the likes of when you hit your goal body, it's usually 10 pounds heavier than what you thought it was going to be. And basically what that is because muscle is so dense that it's the thing that's helping you change your shape, and it is really heavy. So a lot of times people start basing their progress off of just the scale, and they're like, I feel better, I look better, and every time I step on the scale, it's not going down. I'm working so hard, and usually that's because you're also building muscle. This is called body recomp, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. Will strength training make you bulky? No. This is a misconception. I think that we have heard on social media so many times now that strength training will not make you bulky. So I do think that most people know that by now, but it does still come up. Putting on muscle does not make you bulky, because it's really hard to put on muscle tissue. And if you're training in an effective way, it's even less likely, because you're going to be training in a way that's helping you put on muscle tissue in the areas that you want to. Let me give you an example. Glutes. If you're training your glutes, I promise you, it's going to be so hard to get like a bulky booty if you have a overall lean body composition. The thing that makes people bulky is two things. The first thing is eating too many calories. Your muscle lies underneath of your body fat, which lies under your skin. So if you are putting on muscle and also putting on body fat, you are going to look more bulky because the muscle is going to be growing under the fat and the body fat's going to be growing outside of that. Step 2 might be that you're putting on muscle, but you're not losing any body fat. This is rare because usually as you put on muscle, you do a body recomp. So as you put muscle on, body fat goes down. But let's say you don't. Say you're eating enough calories where you're in a maintenance phase, but you're also putting on muscle. You might also think that you're starting to look a little thicker. And some people, this is exactly the goal they want. I know so many women who want to have the slim, thick look. So this would be perfect for you if that's you. But if you don't want that, if you are putting on muscle and you are holding the same body fat, you are going to start looking a little bit thicker. You'll probably look, I mean this is a positive way, you'll look tighter. Like you'll look, even though you're getting thicker, you're going to have less cellulite, you're going to have less dimples, and that's because the muscle is coming on, but it's going to expand. So you are going to be looking thicker. If you are either eating at maintenance and you're doing body recomp, so muscles coming on, body fat's going down, or if you are in a calorie deficit, you are going to be getting leaner, which is smaller. So even though you're putting on muscle and you're changing your shape, everything's going to be tightening up because your body fat percentage is also going down. So the first way that you end up looking bulky is because you're consuming too many calories in addition to the workout that you're doing. The second way, and I think that most of you guys are not going to even have this cross your mind, is if you're taking male hormones. People talk about fitness making people look bulky, and the examples that they have are professional bodybuilders who are taking male hormones, and then of course you end up looking different. You get traps, you get harder exterior, you get a harder forehead, harder jaw, you look different, and that is not something that you have to worry about if you're never planning on taking exogenous hormones. So we will nix that little rumor right there. It will not make you bulky. How often should you be training? This depends on your goals. Like I said in the introduction, fitness and nutrition is not one size fits all. It really depends on your goals. But I think that the sweet spot for strength training is between 3 to 5 days. If you are very busy, if you're a parent and you're lucky to get the 3 days in a week, that is absolutely perfect and your body will thank you for it. If you are someone who is super fitness focused like myself, 5 days doesn't feel like anything at this point. It does. I'm working hard, but it doesn't feel hard to make myself do it because it's part of my lifestyle. You want to create a routine that you're excited about, that you can stick to, and that's sustainable. So 3 to 5. How challenging should the workouts be? A good way to tell if you're choosing weights that are challenging enough for you is that by the last 2 to 3 reps, you should be questioning if you're going to be able to complete them. This is called pushing till failure. And what this does is starts to fatigue the muscle enough that it's promoting change. So whether you're somebody who chooses lighter weights and higher reps or heavy weights and lower reps, you are still going to be wanting to push hard enough that the last few reps of your set are forcibly slower. If you're confused by this, send me a message and I will show you a video demonstration of what that means. I have some already on my Instagram where you can see in that set, you're doing a bicep curl, you're trying, but it's slower. This is a great working set. You want to be getting into that point where you are not purposely going slower, but your body's making you go slower because you're getting so fatigued. So you do want to challenge yourself with strength training. There's a quote that I like that I'll say sometimes that is, if you always choose the same, you'll always stay the same. So if you have been working out for a long time, but every time you see that bicep curl in your program, you go up to the 10-pound dumbbells and you've been using the 10-pound dumbbells for the last 2 years and you wonder why you're not changing, that's why, because your body needs more to overcome the stimulus that you're putting on it. If you're happy where you're at and you don't want to change, that's another story. But if you are trying to see more changes, you are going to need to be doing more over time. And this is progressive overload. I have a resource that goes really deep into progressive overload. If you're interested in that, let me know. What muscle groups and what planes of motion should you be training? So, an easy way to think about this, first of all, is your body doesn't work in isolation. It's working all together. So, you do want to be strong and mobile in all planes of motion and in all muscle groups. So, in my opinion, it is important that you're working all major muscle groups. These would be your glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves, core, chest, back, shoulders, triceps, biceps. And that being said, if you are a woman and you don't really want to see a ton of muscle come onto your upper body, you don't need to be doing it all the time, but you do want to be doing some things that work it so that you are feeling strong and balanced overall. For example, a lot of women, you're not going to do a full chest day, but you might do a full glute day. But you are, in my opinion, what would be best doing like 1 to 2 chest exercises a week. So whether you put a push up in your um, upper body day, or a bench press, or a chest press with a dumbbell or with a cable, you're choosing something where you're still working that range of motion so that the muscles are firing, they're staying strong, they're staying on, but you're not training it so much to promote crazy changes. So, in terms of planes of motion, it's important in best case scenario for functionality of the body that you are training in major planes of motion that I'm going to go over in a second. But the first thing that I'll say is if you are injured and you can't do certain movements, you don't need to force yourself to do them, but you do want to still do something that targets that muscle. So what I mean by that is if you have like torn your shoulder or something and you can't do an overhead press, you don't need to do an overhead press, but you do still want to work your shoulders. So maybe you'll do more lateral lifts, more frontal lifts, more upright rows. The planes of motion that you can move in and you want to continue to move in so that you can have the best quality of life, especially as you age and as you just move through your life. These are really important. If you want to feel your best and you want to go on vacation and do a hike without questioning yourself, go swimming without questioning yourself, move and be able to twist and pick something up really quickly without warming up and worrying about throwing your back out or something, these are important to be training in. So there is a squat, so that's the down up. There is a hinge in your hips. This is like a deadlift or like a hip thrust or a kettlebell swing. There is a push, so pushing like a chest press, pulling like a dumbbell row, abduction, which is with your upper or lower body that's moving away from the midline, so a lateral lift with the shoulder or a cable abduction with your leg. Twist, like through the torso, you want to be able to rotate, so you could think like Russian twist, plank hip dip, wood chops, and press, which is over the head. So as much as possible, you do want to be working in those planes of motion and making sure that you can do all of those on a regular basis. How should you train for fat loss? This is going to come down more to your nutrition than your training. Some of you might be surprised to hear this, but the good news is we are going to be talking about nutrition in this masterclass. So I'll get more to that. But in terms of strength training for fat loss, you want to be doing really similar strength training to what you would be doing anyways. Like I mentioned, the important things, we're training in those planes of motion, we're in a consistent routine, and we're really pushing ourselves with the intensity that we're using in the workouts. As you start to lose body fat, a lot of times, if you go into a cut, strength can start to decrease because your size is decreasing, and sometimes people get more fatigued from eating less calories. So if you notice that that's happening, your goal is going to be to try to keep your strength up as much as you can to maintain as much muscle mass as you can. And that's the only thing when it comes to your strength training that you're really going to change between fat loss or doing a build or anything like that. And the things that you really, really want to be making sure that you're doing for effective training is consistency, like we talked about. That is consistency over flash rules the day. Form. I always say form first. Form over weight, form over reps. So if you are learning how to barbell squat and you feel like you can do more weight, but when you're going down, you're dropping your knees in, or you're arching your back, or you're rounding your back, or you're collapsing in your feet, even if you can add more weight, it's going to be more advantageous for you to fix your form first, get really good at moving clean, moving slow and controlled, feeling the exercise and the muscle that you should be feeling it in before you decide to move on to the weight. And then lastly, progressive overload, which we talked about a little bit, but just as a reminder, this is pointing to doing more over time, which you could do from more weight used. This is probably the most common. It could be more reps, it could be more workout days, and it could be better range of motion and time under tension. There's another quote. Well, first off, I'll say if you're somebody who is starting to try to do certain exercises and they feel uncomfortable for you, and you say, I can't do that because it feels uncomfortable, this is for you. One thing that I'll start off in this segment to say is that if you have not been doing something for a while, it's not going to feel comfortable, especially if you're an adult. If you're 30 years old and you haven't done a plank since you were 12 in soccer practice, your wrists are going to feel uncomfortable from putting your body weight on it. And it's going to be positive in the long run to continue to improve your strength and mobility and body composition. And then eventually it won't be uncomfortable anymore. So always ask yourself, is it discomfort or is it pain? If it's pain, you are probably not going to want to push through it. You're going to want to address where that's coming from and how you can heal, or other variations of exercises in that same muscle group that work better for you. But if it is discomfort, I would encourage you to push through. One of the benefits of fitness and strength training is that you're getting more resilient and you're improving your work ethic. You're not just strictly changing your body or doing exercises. It goes so much farther than that. So the quote that I wanted to mention is, because I can't, I must. This is a quote that I heard from an amazing teacher, Paul Chek. And what he's saying is if a client comes into you and says, I can't squat, he would say, you must squat. Because I can't, I must. So it's the weakness in your body that's telling you what you need to be working towards. And that's not to say he's saying you have to squat with a barbell, but what can you do to start working up to doing a squat? Can you try to squat holding the handles on a TRX? Can you squat and sit down on a box and stand up with no weight? If you completely neglect these ranges of motion, you will not be able to do them anymore. And I guarantee these weak areas of your body are going to start pulling on the strong areas of your body, and you are not going to age as well as you can, and you are going to experience more injury in your everyday life. And unfortunately, that's how it is. So to overcome that, we do want to be pushing into our edge of what is uncomfortable, trying to get better over time, and making sure to train in those ranges of motion. Next up, we are talking about cardio. So first off, do you need to be doing cardio? This is a great question. And just like with fitness, it depends on your goals. When it comes to cardio, of course, you want to have healthy cardiac function, but you in general are, if you're in a regular strength training routine, you're getting enough heart work, enough cardiac work from that type of strength training that you're doing. Even if you're also adding in, which I totally recommend doing, Pilates and yoga and that kind of stuff, you're also increasing your heart rate enough that you're checking the box of the cardiac health. So if you're doing that, you do not need to do cardio for strictly cardiac purposes. You could do cardio because you like it and you feel good and you love it. That's awesome. And the main reason from a fitness transformation that somebody would add cardio into the routine is because it puts you in more of a calorie deficit at the end of the day. If you're somebody who's focused on fat loss, you do need to be in a calorie deficit. You will not lose fat if you are not in a calorie deficit. You can achieve a calorie deficit from eating less, moving more, or doing a combination of both. So putting cardio in your routine would help you with that combination of both that at the end of the day is going to put you into a deficit. What type of cardio is best? Again, it depends on your goals. If you're someone who is going to be competing in something like you want to do a half marathon, of course you need to be running. If you want to do a triathlon, you need to be running, biking, and swimming. But if you're just like me and you're someone who's never going to do something like that, then you want to choose the cardio that you actually enjoy. So for me personally, that is I love dancing. I love walking. I love walking outside. I love walking on an incline. I love yoga. Yoga is its own practice of fitness, but for transformation purposes, it would fall under cardio because at the end of the day, those extra calories that you output during yoga are going to put you into more of a calorie deficit. So those are the ones that I personally enjoy. So I always recommend that you do the one that you enjoy. Can you lose weight without it? Yes, absolutely. You can lose weight without it by being in a calorie deficit coming from your strength training and your nutrition only. But it usually for a lot of people is more enjoyable to also lose fat using cardio as well, because if you do that, your calories don't have to get quite as low. So that can be super supportive. Um, I wanted to include these 3 photos on the right on this slide where we're talking about fat loss and calorie deficit as the first introduction, because when you are moving into a transformational style of fitness, you will classify the transformations into a build, a cut, or body recomp, and all of these photos represent one of those. The one at the very top is a build. So you can see from her before and after, she built quite a bit of great muscle and put on weight in a positive way. So if you're someone who's doing a build, you likely will not be doing any cardio. You'll be focused on strength training, higher calories, and hitting your protein intake. If you are someone who's doing body recomp, that is the one that you see there in the middle, where her body weight has not changed very much, but her body fat percentage has changed a lot. You can see in the glutes, you can see in the lower back, you can see in the triceps, the shoulders, even the hamstrings, that on the right, it's shaped completely different and it's much tighter, even though she isn't like drastically different in size. That is body recomp, and this is something that is the go-to for anyone who considers themselves skinny fat, and generally people who are new to fitness who haven't worked out before. And basically what's happening is you're starting to put on awesome muscle tissue where you look way more toned, and just from doing that, your body fat percentage is also going down, and that results in a complete recomposition of your body. If this is something that you are interested in or is happening to you, you generally are going to be eating in calorie maintenance, really focused on getting stronger and more consistent in the gym, and then hitting your protein intake. And then the last one we have is a cut. So this is weight loss. And I think that the majority of people end up starting wanting to do weight loss, and then sometimes it might turn into doing one of the other two. Not everybody, just the majority. And what you're needing to do in this is be in a calorie deficit. So when it comes to your strength training, you're trying to maintain the strength that you have as you go deeper into the cut, and you're in a calorie deficit, so not eating as many calories, still trying to hit your protein intake, and also incorporating cardio to help you get into a deeper deficit over time. So this is how this all circles back to the cardio, is just if you should or shouldn't be doing it based off your fitness goals. So one more time with that, a build, you likely won't be including cardio. Body recomp, you may be, but you don't have to be. A fat loss cut phase, you generally will be including it. HIIT versus LITs. Who remembers the HIIT days? High intensity interval training. I remember that was also all the rage when I was in college. It was another thing that I was doing that was not working for me during that phase. I actually remember it was still the rage when I first started personal training, and I actually wrote a blog about it, giving different things you could do and different examples. And lo and behold, I'm in much better shape now, and I'm not surprised as to why. The reason why is because the impact on your body can be really, really stressful and cause inflammation. That's the first reason. That's a big one, especially if you're someone who's already eating low calorie. You don't want to put any extra stress on your body, because stress on the body makes fat loss harder, and it also increases inflammation. Those are 2 things that you do not want if you're focused on weight loss, and especially if you're focused on hormone health. As we know, women's cycles are on a 28-day cycle. You are going through 4 different phases during your menstrual cycle, and especially in the luteal and menstrual phase, it can be very stressful and cause you to hold more weight and cause a lot more internal friction and inflammation. So if you are including HIIT, girl, you better love that and be only doing it because you really are love it, because otherwise you are going to want to be focusing on LISS, which is low intensity steady state. This type of cardio is cardio that you can have a conversation while doing. And this is just like, it's like a breeze for your body. It's like a breath of fresh air. It's helping you burn fat. You're in an aerobic state versus an anaerobic state of energy. And it helps you maintain more muscle in the process, because you are just really being easy with yourself. You're easy on the adrenals, and then you're being really, really great about your nutrition. If you're doing, I'm recommending for anybody to be great about your nutrition, but if you're good about your nutrition, you're going to be more likely to hold on to more muscle. And cardio impacts on hormone health. If you're somebody who feels like your hormones are off and you feel like you have a lot of inflammation, I really want you to make sure that you're focusing on list, not hit. And I want to make sure that you're not doing anything that's too jarring for your joints. You can definitely tend to overdo it when you're focusing on getting leaner. And the best thing that you can do for yourself if you need to deepen into your cut is to increase the time of like the time that you're committing to cardio versus the type. So what I mean by that is if you are keeping it, you're focusing on lists, you're walking outside. I'll tell you for my cardio, for my fitness competitions, which I was able to get extremely lean for, I was walking outside. And you'll notice that for most people who do want to do things where they're getting leaner, because you know the stress that it can be on your body to lose a lot of body fat anyways. So you really want to be easy on yourself in that way. So back to the time versus type, I think what might intuitively come to you is I want to lose more body fat. I'm going to increase the pace on the stair stepper, or I'm going to increase the pace on the treadmill. You actually want to stick with the same pace that you can hold that conversation with and increase the time. So instead of doing 20 minutes, now you're doing 30 minutes versus instead of walking at level 3, now you're running at level 7. Let's move along. Nutrition. This is a big one. In the beginning, I said strength training is probably the second biggest piece of your transformation. The first biggest piece is nutrition. When it comes to changing your body size, calories are king. Calories in versus calories out. I don't need to tell you that. I'm sure you know this because of a calorie deficit and because you've probably seen it shared so much online, but it truly is accurate. Calories are king. There is a girl, I'm forgetting her name, but I do want to give her credit for this. I think it's Sue Chi or Sue Lin, but she did a Snickers experiment. She prepped for a bikini bodybuilding competition, and she had a king-size Snickers every single day as her experiment. When she first started her diet, she had a lot more calories to start from. That's how everyone starts. You dwindle down as you get closer to your goal. So she had a lot of calories to start from. So the king size Snickers was only taking up like 20% of the calories, and it wasn't a big deal. But the closer she got to the competition and the calories got lower, the king size Snicker was now like 50% of her calories for the day. And she started to feel really, really bad. So you can still lose weight, including unhealthy items or more fun, soulful items. But they are going to change the way that you feel, and they may take up a lot of your calories the closer that you get or the more deep that you go into your calorie deficit. So calories are king for weight gain and weight loss. Macros are king for changing your body composition. Macros are protein, carbs, and fats. And this is the thing that's really helping make sure that the weight that you're losing is body fat instead of muscle. When we talked about our strawberry example, we know that that person was losing weight, not necessarily fat. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining muscle or even building muscle and dropping body fat. And the best way for you to do that is going to be through macros. And that's also how you're going to change your overall shape. Micronutrients are the things that help you to feel your best. Micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. So basically, if you look at these photos on the right, that sweet potato hash, that's a roasted fall salad, a green goddess protein smoothie, and a date caramel high protein little snack that I love to make. The three that have the colors in them, these are full of micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. It generally comes from plant foods. Phytonutrients are the things in plants that give them the color. So you want to be what I call eating the rainbow and just basically getting as many colors in your day as possible. And if you do that, you're checking off a wide range of different vitamins and minerals that are going to support different processes in your body. So if you can do one takeaway immediately, have it be eat the rainbow. It's going to help your gut health. It's going to help your energy, your skin, your hormones, your detox pathways, kidneys, liver, all of the things. So definitely make sure that you're getting in some colorful foods. And then the second thing that I'll say on that, if you could do anything else, make sure that you're hitting your protein intake. The fitness recommendation for protein intake is 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. I say ideal because if you weigh like 200 pounds or something, we're not going to ask you to eat 200 grams of protein, but you might want to eat 140 or something like that. So really making sure that you're hitting that protein intake is great as well. I actually have a protein guide that's called Rooted and Radiant. It's amazing. And all of these recipes, the four that I have on here, are in the guide. The guide also has macronutrients for every recipe calculated for you. And most of the recipes have follow along videos also. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to me as well. Food tracking versus Ooh, okay, sorry, rewind. Build, cut, maintenance, we already talked about, so I'm not going to go into that. Macronutrients and micronutrients we just dove into, and then food tracking versus intuitive eating. So, ideally, in a perfect world, we would all be able to intuitive eat and feel and look great. But we can't. Otherwise, you people wouldn't be in positions that they get themselves into, right? So, there's a lot of reasons why it can be hard to intuitively eat, and I'm just going to tap in on a few right now. The first one, hyperprocessed foods are designed to be addictive. They are meant to set off dopamine processes in your brain that make you want to come back to the food again and again and experience that sensation again and again. It can be hard to intuitively eat when you're eating hyperprocessed foods and they're overriding your body's normal functions and telling you, I need this. Like I need Doritos right now. I need M&Ms right now, when you don't. So that's one reason that it can be hard to intuitively eat. Another reason is the portion sizing in Western culture. The portion sizing tends to have massive sizes of carbohydrates and minuscule sizes of protein, when in general, we function best with the opposite. So you could have a skewed perception of how much you should be eating based off of the sizes of food that they give us at restaurants. And lastly, if you've been a chronic dieter, I know that was me. If you've been dieting off and on for a long time and yo-yo dieting, you change the natural production of leptin and ghrelin, which are hunger hormones. So your body might not be telling you anymore that you're hungry when it really should be eating, or it might tell you that you're hungry. If you're somebody who binge eats a lot or overeats, it might start telling you that you're hungry more often than what's ideal for you. So that's another way that intuitive eating can be challenging. So like I said though, that would be the healthiest option. If possible, I think most of us would like to say, I listened to my hunger cues. I ate something that satisfied them. It satisfied me the way that I felt, but the way that it tasted as well. And then I stopped eating when I was full instead of push myself to the point of discomfort and overeating. That would be great. But a lot of us struggle with that. And in that way, food tracking is an awesome, awesome, awesome resource. And it's great to do with a coach. I would highly recommend doing it with a coach because, like I said, when you get your initial numbers that you're tracking over time, as your goals change and your body changes, you're going to need to change those also. You can't just stick to the number long term unless you got where you wanted to go really quickly. But for most of us, it's going to require either needing to do a build and put on muscle and then do a diet phase and bring that body fat down, or maybe just, if you are considering yourself overweight right now, jumping straight into a calorie deficit. But whichever it may be, it will need to change over time. So food tracking not only is going to help you get to your goal quicker, but it's also going to be really great for helping you to know what a proper portion size is. We talked about those restaurant portion sizes. Those are not ideal. So it'll train you what is a real portion size of rice? What is a real portion size of salmon? And then how much approximately you personally should be eating in a day for your goals. Which foods satisfy which food group. It's really important for us to know what is a carb, what is a fat, what is protein, what are micronutrients, all of those things. And then also, I think it encourages a lot of people to start reading nutrition and ingredient labels, which is really, really important for our hormone health and well-being as well. And then lastly, it gives you a structure where you can still include foods that are fun foods, like that date caramel at the top, and not go over your calories. So that's really awesome too, because that's what flexible dieting is letting you include things that are not on a normal diet, but there you can include them and still experience weight loss or whatever your goal is. What foods should I eat? An easy way to remember this, I always tell my clients, you want to try to eat food that looks as closely as possible to what it looked like when it was found in nature. And if you can do that, your body is going to thank you. So this would be animal proteins like meat, fish, eggs, bone broth, plants, so fruits and vegetables, seeds, nuts. Yeah, those things that look like what they looked like when they were found in nature. Lentils, beans, rice. You want to limit the things that are in boxes or bags. So limiting processed foods, those are considered your fun food, and you can definitely incorporate them in a healthy diet, but just as part of the healthy diet, not as the main part of the diet. What should you eat before or after a workout? This is a question that I get a lot. And I like to tell people that it's great to have mini meals, like having, if you see at the top that sweet potato hash, I could have half of it before the gym, half of it after the gym. But if that's not your jam, you want to make sure that before you work out, you are having some carbohydrates to fuel your workout. That is going to break down into glucose, and that is going to be shuttled into your muscle, stored as glycogen to give you energy. And after you work out, you want to make sure that you're having protein. So, like this protein shake that you see, because your body, when you're working out, is tearing your muscle fibers to rebuild them stronger and with more of a shape. And when that happens, you need to replenish the protein stores by consuming protein. So, it's really great if you can do that within 30 minutes of your workout. Some tips that I really want you guys to zero in on for this to do the best that you can is to make sure that you're planning your day ahead of time, and even make sure that you're scheduling your meals in. So if you are tracking food, this is really easy to do, because basically before you go to bed, you're going to go into your food tracker and put in exactly what you want to eat for the next day. So then the next day, you're not like, oh no, it's dinner and I have 70 grams of protein left. You had it all done already by the time you went to bed. So you know what you're having for breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, snack, pre-workout, pro-workout, you know what you're going to have. And not only that, but you can schedule out the time so that it's, again, not dinner and you have so many calories left that you're trying to eat. So you could say, like, I eat at 8, I eat at 12, I eat at 2, I eat at 6, I eat at 8 again, or whatever the schedule is that you're sticking to. But that way you know that you're never stuck with, if you're doing a build, a lot of calories at the end, or if you're doing a cut, no calories after 4 o'clock, because that can be really challenging too. That's the best way that you can plan for success. Supplementation. Supplements are meant to supplement an already great diet. So it's really common that people, okay, I just got to call myself out here. I am not going to re-record this, but I meant to put a different photo in the bottom than the transformation photo that was on the last slide, but we'll let it slide, okay? We'll let it slide. Supplements are meant to supplement an already great diet. So I think a lot of times when people get interested in their journey, they really are interested in supplements and what they can start taking to push them to the next level. But what's going to push you to the next level is getting stronger in the gym and being consistent, having a healthy diet that's full of colors, fiber, and protein, and getting enough rest. Okay? Limiting alcohol is also a good one. But supplementation is just going to be, if the diet and exercise is 95%, this is going to be 5%. Okay. So this can really, it can help you. It can make you feel better. It can help support the processes, but you're not going to see any of those changes without the diet and exercises being on point. The supplement industry is the wild, wild west, you guys. There is no governing body for the supplement industry. Not that the governing body for the food industry does much, but there is not one for the supplement industry. I was listening to a podcast. There was a girl on it who has a supplement brand, and she wanted to add turmeric to one of her supplements. She ordered a bulk amount of turmeric, and they did third-party testing, which is rare for supplement companies to do third-party testing. Their brand does it. So she did the third-party testing, and that turmeric came back as baking soda that was dyed with yellow food coloring. Stuff like this happens all the time. There's no guarantee that what's in the bottle is even what you're buying. Generally, the stuff they put in it is safe for you to consume, but it's cheap. So it's like, if you were going to get a really expensive magnesium, maybe now they put baking soda in it, something like that. So there's no guarantee that it's what you're buying. And if you're buying your products off Amazon, a lot of times there is fraudulent products like what I just discussed. So you do want to make sure that the brands that you're choosing are very reputable. My personal favorites are Organifi, Symbiotica, and Paleo Valley. That last photo was going to be Paleo Valley, not Jordan's transformation. But those are my go-tos. They're absolutely superb. The brand values, the sourcing, the ethos, amazing. They're gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. Some of them do third-party testing. Paleo Valley works with all regenerative ranchers and farmers. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, if you guys want to know more about those brands, let me know. I can send you podcasts that the founders are on, and I also have discount codes for most of those. When you decide that you are going to start incorporating supplements, it's always great if you could get blood work done, because then your doctor could tell you exactly what vitamins and minerals you need to take. But from a fitness standpoint, there is some that I would recommend looking into. The first one being a protein powder, because it can be really hard for people to hit their protein intake without it, especially if you're a woman. If you're able to hit your protein intake with whole foods, definitely do that. But if you're not, protein powder can be an awesome way to supplement. My personal favorite is the Paleo Valley bone broth protein powder. It's the only one of its kind. It is the only grass-fed and finished bone broth protein powder on the market. It mixes really easy. It's really delicious. And I love that it's made from bones instead of from milk or peas. I just think it's much more intuitive, and my body loves it. So that would be my vote for that one. Creatine. Creatine is a hot topic right now. It's got all the buzz around it, and it is well warranted. Creatine is one of the only supplements that has scientific studies backed behind it. It is not new. People have been using it since the Arnold days. It is not something that is new just because influencers are now posting on it. In the bodybuilding industry, it's always been used, but it should be used for women. It should be used if you're aging, because it supports skeletal health, skeletal muscle health, skeletal muscle strength, cognitive function. That one is really, really important. It has tons of studies now on cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, all of that. You want to be looking for a creatine monohydrate. There's a really good creatine podcast that I can send you to if you want more information and you want to reach out. Collagen. I always rep collagen. I think it's great to incorporate in your day as well. Of course, you want to make sure that you're getting it from something where it's sourcing it well. I get mine from Organifi. It is third-party tested. It is amazing. Really supportive for your joints, for your skin, for your hair. But it also adds non-synthetic protein into your day, which is amazing as well if you're trying to hit those protein goals. And 33% of the protein in your body is in the form of collagen. So it can be so supportive to add a little bit more. I feel like a lot of our foods, especially if you're on a diet, you're probably not getting collagen-rich foods. So supplementing can be really helpful. Glutathione. This is the master antioxidant. This is going to help you with your detox pathways. We come into so many endocrine disruptors the way that we live our lives. Even if you're someone who is low tox and you're super cognizant of what you're consuming and what you're putting on your body, as we all should be, glutathione can still help you detox. Really supportive, helpful for your energy. You want to take it in the morning on an empty stomach. I use the one from Symbiotica. Magnesium. I also use the one from Symbiotica. Magnesium helps with 80% of your body's processes, and most of us are magnesium deficient. So that's definitely one that I would want to look into if I were you. There is 7 different types, so you can check that out and see which one you need. But I do use personally the magnesium L-threonate from Symbiotica. Vitamin C. I also use the one from Symbiotica. It is liposomal delivery. So it's like that you can see the magnesium photo package. It comes in like a little squishy package, and that is helping you get it straight into the cells, because vitamins do need a little bit of fat to help absorb better. So yeah, it's basically an amazing way to consume it. It is super yummy, and it's going to help you with your immunity, with your skin, and just feeling funky, feeling good. I love some vitamin C in my life. I do use sea moss to help with digestion, with immune function, and I like to take it in between meals personally. I use the one from Symbiotica. Fish oil. Most people do want to be using a fish oil. The one that I personally have is from JS Health. And fish oil is really, really supportive for your brain health, cognitive function, hormone health, and mood. Lastly, I use the inflammation supplement and liver supplement also from Symbiotica. I do feel like the inflammation one has been so supportive for me. I noticed there was a noticeable difference for me when I was incorporating that. If you are working out, you are causing inflammation to the muscles. That's just how it is. It is a stressor. It's a positive stressor. It's a hormetic stress, but it still is stressful. And depending on what the rest of your life looks like, you may be having more inflammation if you are coming into contact with a lot of toxins, even if you don't know. That in the liver supplement can be really helpful. Again, I'd be happy to give you any more information on those if you reach out. Last thing that we're going to chat about is recovery. This one is one that really is brushed under the rug sometimes. Okay, you guys, update. I think that this didn't save because these are not the photos that I put on the recovery either, but we are already so far into this presentation. We're just going to enjoy the body recomp bills and cut photos that I have here. But let's pretend it's a photo of a red light, of a foam roller, and of a sauna, okay? Or of someone sleeping, because we're talking about recovery, and those are some of the most important things to be doing when you recover. Recovery is often overlooked in people's fitness journeys, but it's incredibly important. The reason being, your muscles only change when they get to rest and recover. I mentioned earlier in this class that when you're working out, you're tearing your muscle fibers to rebuild them stronger and with more of a shape. So if you're tearing them and then you're A, not getting enough protein to help them rebuild, and B, not resting long enough to help them rebuild, you're basically spinning your wheels, because it's like they're tearing, they're causing inflammation, not getting rebuilt, tearing again by your next workout, okay? So you really want to make sure you're having enough time in between workouts, which basically is don't work the same muscle group 2 days in a row. If you did a leg day on Monday, the next day should be an upper body or core or walking, something like that, not another leg day. So having time in between your workouts and then making sure that you're eating enough calories, you're eating enough protein, and you're recovering. And some of the supplements that I named in the last slide definitely can help you with recover as well. Recovery supports your hormones, your strength, reduces inflammation, and sleep is one of the best things for you, okay? So make sure that you're getting enough sleep. This really, I think that we really underestimate how important sleep is for us to function at our best when it comes to your fitness transformation, but also just the way that you live your life. So getting yourself an evening routine. Maybe I do also use the sleep spray from Symbiotica, but doing a wind down routine, staying away from the blue light, reading instead, maybe going for a digestion walk after dinner to help with that, having your magnesium before bed, having your sleep spray, and really trying to get yourself a good night's sleep in a nice cool room. Try to reduce your stress in your day as much as you can. Stress does decline the amount of fat loss that you will experience. So you really want to make sure that you're keeping your adrenals happy, you're keeping your inflammation happy, you're keeping your stress levels happy and healthy. So stress can be physically what you're doing to your body. So if you're overtraining, if you're undersleeping, if you're consuming a lot of things that are hyper processed, as in hyper processed foods, if you're putting a lot of endocrine disruptors on your body, so like body spray, deodorant that has scent, stuff like that, these are all going to cause stress to your body, and it's going to make it harder for you to feel your best and to experience the best results that you can. Lastly, to help facilitate your recovery, you can incorporate things like sauna, fascia work, lymphatic drainage, massage, regular massage, and red light therapy. Thank you guys. I hope that you got so much out of this. I know that I went through a lot of information in a short period of time, but I just wanted to make sure that I was addressing all of the questions that I get on a regular basis in this little mini masterclass. So I hope that you have some tactical takeaways when it comes to strength, cardio, nutrition, supplements, and recovery. These 5 things together absolutely will start giving you a massive transformation. If you are interested in doing any sort of work with myself or asking more questions, please make sure to message me about training opportunities, meal plans, and supplement discounts. And I will also follow up with an email with some of the resources that I discussed in this masterclass. I know that I mentioned quite a few different things, so I'll remember to get those attached for all of you guys who listen to this. My DMs are always open to you, and I hope that this was valuable. Talk to you soon.